All right, everybody got me? First of all, a big shout out to Coach Hale and our women's soccer team for the big win yesterday. It's a huge win to beat the #1 ranked team in the country. I know that there's a lot of excitement, and Coach does a great job. So big shout out to them. Capped off a good weekend. It was great to have our fans out Saturday. I thought they were loud. I thought we had a great environment, especially as the game went on and as close as it got in the fourth quarter. To see our fans really get into the game was exciting to see and be a part of helping us finish this thing out the right way. But just seeing the excitement on our fans' faces, our staff, our players, was very, very gratifying Saturday night. But very proud of how hard our guys played and competed. They responded the way I knew they would. I saw it in the locker room after the Ole Miss game and each day last week. We had one of our best weeks, if not the best week of practice that we had since I've been here last week. And it was all credit to our staff and to the players for responding the right way. I thought in the fourth quarter, the scores tied 34-34. I thought it was a decision that had to be made. I thought it was a big moment for this team, for where we've been since we've been here over 19 months. I thought that was a defining moment for the direction of this team and where we were heading. And to see the leadership step up is an understatement. Everybody pulled together. They met the challenge. The way that we won the game in the fourth quarter and how we finished strong in that fourth quarter is something that we'll continue to build on and upon the rest of this season and moving forward. But especially with how we lost this same game a year ago. So we're very pleased with that. Again, I want to talk a little bit more about our leadership and that fourth quarter moment, really what kind of defined the line in the sand at that point. But players of the game offensively were Nick Starkel and Ty Clary. Ty Clary played the best game I've seen him play since he's been here. He continues to improve.
Welcome in. It's our Monday edition. It's our 30-minute edition as we take you back to Saturday's 55-34 Razorback victory in Donald W. Rooms versus the Colorado State Rams. A victory that I felt, for all intents and purposes, was a must-win. We heard Coach Morris talk about it. We heard several players throughout the media availability throughout the week talk about how big that this past weekend's game was. To get that win, was huge. And I've talked out about town since the ball game. Last year, this football team may not have been able to regroup, and as Chad said all week, respond to the game being tied up going into the fourth quarter. But for a defense, I think to give up 34 yards, score 21 unanswered points, you had multiple drives, long drives, very good, convincing drives. You saw Nick Starkel at the time of adversity seemed like a guy that had more confidence, was real direct with when and where he wanted to go with the football. I thought the running game, they start getting some real meaningful push. And then defensively, like I said, 34 yards, you get a scoop and score. It seemed like they picked up the hustle a little bit. Now, what I have started to see with this football team is the high accountability level that not only the coaches have, but the players have as teammates. I mean, Demetrius, when you look at that, this was a win. And you read all social media. This football team in Arkansas earned this victory, and as a result, they're starting to form a little identity.
Definitely. I'm really hard on the team when it comes from or to their play on the field. And I feel like that was one of the games that Chad Morris is going to look back and say this is when the culture really started to make that change and make that jump. I was excited to see the guys band together and make it happen.
I mean, when you look at Nick Starkel, it just seems that this is a different football team. I mean, the guy comes out, he's 41 of 64, hitting about 64% of his passes, 564 yards, 4 TDs, 1 interception. And it just seems, as Coach Moore stated in this past weekend's press conference, it was a carryover from the second half of Ole Miss. The last 6 quarters of football, this has looked like a very different, or vastly different offensive unit. It seems to be more opening lanes for the running game, that the threat of the deep ball. Seems like your receivers are running routes a lot more crisper. I mean, I think that, and you don't want to go back and play devil's advocate, but in my opinion, this is an undefeated football team. If Nick Starkel is the quarterback at Ole Miss, first snap of that ball game.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think at the end of the game, when it comes time for bowl games, that's when Chad is really going to hit Chad. As far as the decision he made in taking the time to let it linger on, because I think everybody saw. I think we should have made that change for Nick Starkel around the second quarter of that Ole Miss game, and I think you're right. That would be a different ball game because just the ability to move the ball is totally different when Nick Starkel comes into the game. The defense has to respect that deep ball with so much speed on the perimeter with Trey Knox and Traylon Burks and guys like Cheyenne O'Grady.
That was a big-time run by Cheyenne. I think, Cheyenne stated in our post-game with him on Saturday. It was more of a will to get in the end zone. Said it had been a while. And you saw the determination. But, this is what I'm talking about. And we've talked about the culture change quite a bit. But the biggest play of that game, to me, stood out on Cheyenne O'Grady's touchdown run. I saw two elite freshmen, that in today's age and era of collegiate football, when you're not getting the ball, you don't have the extra want to. Those guys were busting their tails to get in front of the would-be defender without blocking, just creating, kind of like a screenplay to where they're not touching but still giving him ample time to make it to the end zone. And, being across the field, I was across from the Razorback sideline, and I was close to the end zone when Cheyenne entered the end zone. Watching the celebration, I don't know who was more happy, Demetrius, the senior O'Grady or the two true freshmen, Knox and Burks, because, they were just jubilant. And that just goes to show how this culture has changed. During that game, I was in the press box and had the privilege of watching just the interaction, and I saw defensive players going over and encouraging the offense and vice versa, offense encouraging defense. And never once did I see any letting go of the rope, so to speak, as we've seen in past Razorback football seasons.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is a big win for the program and just to give guys motivation. You've seen a lot of guys like Joe Fouché really elevate his play when it really mattered. And shout out to Limpert. I think so many people disregard the special teams because I think if he wouldn't have hit some of those key field goals, that 54-yard field goal, I think that's really what changed the momentum to make sure Arkansas kept the lead. Just to have the ability to have a for sure kicker, I think that only makes our offense better because we show once we get past the 50, we have the ability to put some points on the scoreboard. So I think that's an X factor when you look at it from an offensive standpoint. And now going forward, offensive schematic plan when you're talking about how many points you expect from your offense at the end of the game. So I'm really excited. I really like some of the play calling. I think they got away from the pass a little bit, but I understand why. They want guys to respect the run, to open up the pass. So I think guys are really just understanding what kind of team they have and really finding an identity for Arkansas.
I felt real good in seeing Devois Whaley being able to seem like he ran with a little more purpose, a little more passion. Also, too, love the way that he and Rakeem Boyd complimented one another. Thought Chase Hayden came in and did some good things. The thing that I think goes really unnoticed is the play of the offensive line with it being so young. You just think about this. 2 seniors are starting on this year's offensive line. A lot of young guys that are getting initial playing time, such as Dalton Wagner getting heavy minutes. Got true freshman Ricky Stromborg, Myron Cunningham coming in from the junior college ranks. So And you talk about Ty Clary. This is a guy that didn't play center last year, was moved there in the spring, and has had to learn on the fly. And the way that these guys are starting to protect and run the football, I mean, think about this, Demetrius. 2 years, it hadn't been very good. This offensive line has given up four, no more than 5 sacks. And you count up all the passing attempts. I mean, that's pretty good. And they're starting to, get a little push as getting into the latter part of the games. And I think if they can continue to mature and, come on and be able to run the football with Rakeem and Devoir and Chase Hayden, and if you can get in Amonte Spivey, then I think your passing game under Nick Starkel with the play action and the ability to stretch the field with chunk plays is going to be even more of a weapon, I think, as you get deeper and deeper into the conference season.
Absolutely. And that's interesting. You say guys like Spivey because right now, I won't say it's not a fit for him, but guys are playing so good right now when you have Rakeem and Devoir. Like you said, he just ran with a different tenacity this week. He ran behind his pads. And, I'm excited for the future. And if I'm Chad, man, I'm really going to talk to these younger guys like Spivey, like a KJ Jefferson, to get them to understand, to believe in the vision. Because when you have guys that come from winning programs, sometimes they get a little anxious and believe they deserve to be on the field, and they might be the better player. But I think in just watching, I'm really starting to see how, I'm not going to say this year doesn't matter because every year matters, but to see the potential going forward. When you always tell me about the youth in the secondary with McClellan, with Buster. With guys like Fouché, then you add in the younger guys like Colin Clay, Mateo. I can keep going on. Zach, it's so many freshmen that you're saying, man, you give us 2 years, we're definitely going to be competing. And yesterday showed me because, this was something you really kept pointing out. There was times in that fourth quarter where there was only one senior on that defensive alignment and the whole secondary were, middleclassmen or underclassmen. So to me, that's a sign that, one, they're doing a great job with recruiting. And then two, you're finally starting to see the player development that you wanted in that Bielema area. There were so many times guys said, oh, well, Bielema, we don't know if he can develop. We don't know he can recruit. But I think Chad's showing you that he's actually going to get guys that save him time from player development, that he can stick in right away, and experience and then coaching will eventually get them to All-American. Because I think Joe Fouché so far is having an All-American season as a sophomore. A guy like Cameron Curl, I think if he sticks it up, pull out a couple of more turnovers, and he's going to be an All-American candidate. So guys really have a chance to really elevate Arkansas on the national level.
I really feel like, the guy that really on that offensive line sticks out to me is Ricky Stromborg. I mean, undersized at about 6'4", 275. But the kid has a tremendous amount of athletic ability. I feel like if you go back, and for some that may have watched this past weekend's game on SEC Network, the replay, you'll find out on that touchdown run that Rakeem had. I mean, you look at the blocking from Ty Clary and you look at the blocking from Ricky Stromborg. I mean, those guys cleared out a hole that probably – Devoir and every other running back could have ran through along with Rakeem to the end zone. So it's just a maturation. I think Dustin Fry's done a yeoman's job with getting these guys to be more physical. I think their commitment to the weight room under Coach True over the last year and a half is starting to really show its benefit. Is just, I think, and the type of player that Chad Morris and staff have been able to bring in, guys that are really physical. A lot of the freshman class physically ready to play. I mean, and then you look at in the future, you've got Martravius French and some of those guys, Jashad Stewart, Blaine Toll. I mean, these guys are going to come in here physically ready to step on the football field. Tykees Crawford comes to mind. And I think that's what Arkansas is going to have to continue to do, is get some elite freshmen that can walk in and play, and some that you're going to have to redshirt because you're able to count on some of that older depth. And I feel like in next year's class, you won't have as many true freshmen having to step in because you're going to be real senior, junior, and those redshirt freshmen, which will be redshirt sophomores, true sophomores, you'll be real dominant. Because, I mean, think about this. 22 of your top 44 for the roster depth chart for this upcoming Saturday's ball game are either sophomores, redshirt freshmen, or freshmen. So 22 of your top 44 for this weekend's game on the depth chart, you know are going to be in Fayetteville for at least 2, some 3 or more years, which, like I said, the future's bright. Chad has always said now, and you've heard us say a lot, he's building a program, something that can last over time. And I think with the classes that he's been able to bring in, I mean, you cannot tell me if you're a Razorback fan and you're watching, or you watch on TV and you go to games or whatnot, that this football team and special teams, the ability to have the threat of in kick returns, punt returns, field goals, defense and offense, they have improved during the 19 months that Chad Morris and his staff have been in Fayetteville, and the future has to look bright. I mean, these kids and the culture is starting to change. I mean, I'll continue to say, last year I would not have bet money that this football team, after being tied 34-34 going into the fourth quarter, would have had enough leadership and enough mental toughness to get through this. And it just has to go back to your senior class. These guys have, they bought in, and as a result, you see the younger guys buying in too. I mean, you're only as good as your seniors. I mean, seniors lead and everybody else is supposed to follow is what I've always been told. And that's what I saw. I saw Scooter Harris. I saw Sosa Ageem. I saw these guys, Gabe Richardson. I saw seniors on that defensive side of the ball step up and hold a Colorado State offense that had averaged, I believe, over 500 and some odd yards, 350 yards passing, 34 yards in that final fourth quarter, which lets me know. And like you said, when you cap off the way that CJ was able to run, and then those 2 freshmen, not the same vibe, Demetrius. I mean, this team is growing, and they're slowly forming that identity.
Absolutely. I saw him literally grow right in front of my eyes. Going back to Scooter, when you said Scooter had to rally the team and pull everybody in a circle. I actually had the privilege of standing right behind the circle as Scooter was talking to everybody, and I hadn't seen players like that take initiative to get the team mentally prepared since probably Trey Flowers and Darius Fallon. Those are 2 NFL former players that were Arkansas Razorbacks, and I think Scooter's going to follow that trend, because there's been times in games that no one would come up and speak. No one would step up and say the things that may hurt a player's feelings to get this W. But I'm starting to learn, even as a businessman, when you're the leader of your team, sometimes you're going to say things that hurt people, but you have to put yourself and put your team in position to do the best. And sometimes you have to say things that nobody wants to say. Sometimes you have to call people out and say, hey man, hey guy, I need you to step up. We need you. Our team needs you to step up. And if you can't get out your feelings, we need to call the next man up. And I think that's actually Chad's and the defensive and the entire team. You're starting to really see that if you guys can't hold your position, the next man up. It's next man up. And these guys are really ready to step in. Like the play Ladarius Bishop made, great play. That wasn't a play that I was expecting a freshman to make, given that opportunity. But it's like it's the next man up. And I really see the competition, and I really see the youth pushing these older guys to understand, well, if my role isn't to actually play on the field, if my role is to be a sideline coach, I'm willing to do that. There was another player that I have to comment on. He didn't play a snap, Jamario Bell. Jamario Bell sat on the sideline the whole entire time, and every time there was a sack, he was the first person to run out on the field to, congratulate TJ Smith. You didn't see that last year. You saw guys that were hurt. They weren't even in tune to the game. Guys like what's the running back that's suspended? TJ Hammonds. I saw TJ Hammonds, standing on the bleachers, spinning his shirt, trying to get the towel.
TJ got one more game, and TJ will be back for
Absolutely.
that game at 11 o'clock. And I think that's going to be, it was come out today, I believe. Jordan Jones will be back for the 8 game. They're going to try to get a little work for him this week. I don't anticipate him playing Saturday, but I think he'll be back in full force. Eric Gregory is another defensive end, true freshman defensive end that Coach John Chavis said that would be expected to start getting more playing time. But I think, when you had Jordan Jones and then the element of TJ Hammonds coming there to Demetrius, you just bring 2 more weapons, with Jordan being probably the fastest or one of the top 2 fastest on the team. There's another deep threat advantage. And then the way you can use TJ Hammonds, I mean, this is going to be an even more advantageous offense. You look at that lineup Saturday, and they had, I believe, Mike Woods, Burks, C.J. O'Grady, Trey Knox, and you had Raheem or Debwine in the backfield. That's a very formidable group, guys that you know can make plays. And I like the thing that Nick Starkel, and why I'm kind of riding with Starkensaw, as they call it. He continues to say he wants to get the ball to the playmakers and let them make plays. He made a statement in the post game on Saturday that he told Trey Knox if he ever sees Trey in a one-on-one out on an island, he's throwing him the ball. That's a quarterback that understands the weapons that he has, understands where he needs to go with the football, the disadvantages and the matchups that favor his group offensively, and you can kind of tell with the way these guys were moving Saturday. They believe in him, and I thought, when I talk about winning the team, Demetrius, I've always said you have to win not only the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side of the ball on special teams. And I thought everybody on Saturday had a little extra juice, because when you have a quarterback and an offense that you know can go out and have the ability to score points, you tend to play with a little more passion. You tend to take a little more chances to be a little bit more aggressive. And as evidence, came out also want to make a note. Connor Limpert, Arkansas senior kicker, was named the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week. And, Demetrius, that's 54-yarder he kicked. He would have made that from 60. This team has just continuously developed. Not a lot of, how many times in the kicking game did opposing teams get good returns? We thought we know about what happened in the North Texas game. They've been very good in coverage. I still feel like Traylon Burks is due to break one, but even with that being said, being able to catch the ball and not lose yards during your punt return team. So everything is just a lot better. They still have a long ways to go, does the Arkansas football program. But from the media standpoint, from where I've had to watch this program over the last 19 months, I definitely see it being a very bright future. But we still have more, I believe, from Chad Morris. We're going to give you a little bit more of what we heard today from Coach Mo, and then we'll be back with much, much more. It's our Monday edition. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
It's the best we've executed offensively, without question. We were balanced, and I think that opened up a lot in our run game. But it all started with being efficient and being effective on first down. We averaged 7.6 yards on 33 first down attempts. And when you can do that, you can do a lot of really good things. You can really get into a groove, you get into a rhythm with this offense. We were also very productive on third down. We were 50% on third down, 6 of 12. So we stayed out of third down. But when we did get in it, we were efficient there. Very solid performance offensively, but there's a lot to improve on, and you'll see this unit continue to improve each week. Defensively, our player of the game was Scooter. His leadership in the fourth quarter, he and Sosa really rallying those guys. Scooter pulling everybody together and said, "Not now, it's not happening again." Was as good as I've ever been around and has seen. He was definitely a force, both on the field and off the field. So that was great to see. It just tells you where this program is moving forward, and to have Scooter in that leadership role at that point. We were very disappointed in giving up 2 plays for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I was extremely proud of how our guys responded in the second half, holding them to 26 yards rushing after giving up 10.3 yards rushing in the first half. And so they responded to the challenge. Like I said, the fourth quarter is a snapshot of what we want this defense to look like the entire game. When we had to make a stand, they were extremely productive in that fourth quarter. Started with third down.
Welcome back. It's our 30-minute edition. It's our Monday edition, as we like to meet every Monday, coming from post our Monday media availability with Coach Chad Morris, offensive coordinator Joe Craddock, and defensive coordinator John Chavis, to get their takes on the past Big Three versus Colorado State, and look ahead to San Jose State coming up this Saturday. Kickoff 6:30 p.m. night game in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium on Saturday night. This is brought to you. I almost forgot, Demetrius. We got to show love to the people that make this possible. Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion. It's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Commercial, residential, anything you want to make look good, Call Corey Beck and you won't be disappointed. And our newest sponsor, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 Razorback Road. Go down and see Keith, Kathy, and get a plate of that love. I'm telling you, like they say, it's not your mama's. Best chicken in the South. Waffles, you name it, they're going to cook it for you. And it's cooked right there on the spot. That's what makes it so good. I try to go down in a couple of weeks, and you need to go down and visit KDK's Chicken as well. But as we're about to wrap up today's show, if you have an identity, Demetrius, that you want to label this team 3 games into the season, what is your identity of this football team, in your opinion? Your identity. What's the identity you formed with this football team? Just 3 games in, a new quarterback, still a lot of youth, but what's the identity that you're starting to form about the 2019 Razorback?
I think we're an air raid offense. I think I see the line slowly developing to more of a physical point of the attack team that's going to allow us to run as the years go on. But I think, or I shouldn't even say year, as the season goes on. But if you look at the weapons that we have at the receiver position, given Traylon Burks, Trey Knox, TQ, Shamar, I honestly think we have probably one of the best receiver core rooms in the nation. We may not be able to compete statistically speaking for player, but when you look at what we have as a group, I think I can arguably say we're probably one of the best receiving groups in the nation, even with 3 freshmen being in some of that rotation.
I mean, think about that, D. Almost 300 yards passing in the last 6 quarters since Nick Starkel has come in. This guy has thrown 554 yards, 41 out of 6. He's hitting 64% of his passes. I mean, if you can continue to do that, and I agree with you, Demetrius, you said that as we were riding back from Oxford on Sunday, that this team probably needed to exude the pass to set up the run. And I think you're right on. When you have guys 6'4", 6'5", 250, 228, 230, those big wideouts, and you're able to use them, and they're in a lot of multiple one-on-one coverages. You got to take advantage of those matchups because, as Chad said in the press conference, it gets that defense to back up, get on their heels a little bit. Now you're able to open up some running lanes where you can be physical. That linebacker can't sit in there. They can't pin their ears back on the ends. They have to respect the passing game, and that, the element of the long ball changes defense, how it's played each and every game. And I thought Arkansas was very balanced, 35 run, 35 pass in Saturday's ball game. And when you can do that, you become a really hard football team. Also, 6 out of 12, 50% on third downs. I thought that was really something real positive. And the one thing that I've seen from this defense, and I saw it in fall camp, started to see it in spring ball, is their ability to create turnovers. I think they have 8 turnovers over the last 3 games. Coach Chavis said going into the season that they want to average up to about 3 turnovers per game. They're real close. They've had 3 different guys in the secondary pick off passes, 2 on scoop and scores, several on fumble recoveries, and this is all coming from your secondary, which is very, very youthful back there. But that's due to the simple fact of the aggression, the activity that's going on in that front 7. You look at the scoop and score on Saturday. Hayden Henry caused that one, but it was by the effort in which McTelvin again, anticipated the screenplay, was able to run and hightail it, bust his butt over there to force it inside. When the running back cuts inside, he gets it. Scoop and score. It's all just a mixture of everybody doing their job. And I continue to tell you, this team and the way that they have accountability held amongst, it's inside the group. When you're policed by your team, you become a stronger team when you do more than what the coach has to do. And that's what I'm starting to see, Demetrius. I mean, point blank period, in my opinion.
Definitely. Like I said, now I think the challenge is within the team to not get complacent and to continue to get better. Sometimes you get a couple of wins and guys get complacent and settle and started getting that attention that they thought they always deserved. But I think if this team can stay humble and just stick to what they think, I think, like you said at the beginning of the year, they're going to beat somebody they're not supposed to beat. Because right now, if they can go ahead and go into A&M 3-1, I think it gives them a 50-50 chance of winning that game. I know, Vegas may have them, You know, I don't know what the
19-point favorites this weekend versus
and I think that's different because I think it's the mentality of Arkansas. I think it's based on how Arkansas comes in and how ready they are to play. You know, I'm not a big fan of 11 o'clock games. You know, I like 3 and 6, especially when we go down to Dallas. But if Arkansas can come out using this week to kind of hone in, and again, this week. I know I said they're air raid, but if I'm this week, I'm going in focusing on my run game.
Right.
Because I know if I can run that ball at will, it's definitely going to open up that air raid because that play action, that's something that I haven't seen those guys really utilize, and teams haven't really respected the play action right now. So if they can set that and get that as an identity and as a tool that they can go to at any time, I think come this A&M game, it's going to be a special week for the Arkansas Razorbacks if they come out mentally prepared for that game.
I think they're going to. I think 50-50. If they can continue to stay balanced, this is going to be a hard offensive stop. And I like the 70 plays, 35 and 35. And I think that's what Chad and that offense, they want to continue to shoot for because, like I said, balanced offenses and with the way that they run their offense, it makes it real hard. And, you know, the one thing that they were also able to do is stay out of a lot of third and longs. They stayed ahead of the chains, which if they can do that, Arkansas is going to be very tough to stop offensively. For the future going forward, I do think they'll cover the spread this weekend to set themselves up. Now, think about this: if they win, they beat Southern. You know, you beat San Jose, you go and you upset a Texas A&M bunch. I mean, you have an open week right before you head to Kentucky, so a lot of momentum. Kentucky loses their starting quarterback. You win that game. Now you have Auburn coming here, so Arkansas, you know, has a lot in the coming weeks that they could be playing for. I mean, we could be talking about this team doing some really special things, but you know. Let's pump the brakes. They still have San Jose State, and a lot of work to do. This is a very young football team, so I want to, you know, just go every week and continue to watch the maturation because, like I said, if you're really watching this football team, you're seeing a team grow up before your eyes in the future, and the program that Chad is starting to talk about, you start to really see that. But we're gonna wrap today's show up. We'll be back with much more as we'll have media availability. Practice we'll attend tomorrow. And we'll talk more Hogs, more SEC games of the week. There's quite a few coming up, and we'll bring on some of our friends to let you know which ones to keep an eye out for when Saturday rolls around. But once again, from our producer, Demetrius Johnson, and from myself, Pat Jenkins, also to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also to in Rogers, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Need it to look good? Call Corey. He'll make it look right for you, I guarantee. And our newest sponsor, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 Razorback Road. Go see Keith, Kathy, and get you a plate of that love. Like they say, it's not your mama's best chicken in the South. That's going to do it until tomorrow. This is On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one. You know how I finish it. Let's get it.